If you're not set up by 2030 to be able to move out of America, there's a high chance you're never going to be able to. The best thing you can do right now is set up a plan for the next 4 years so that you can at the very least be set up financially so you don't have to worry about credit card bills, and at best be prepared to leave to somewhere else if things start to get worse. Now, I'm not trying to be alarmist and say that the US is a terrible place to live, but for a lot of people, the things they want to do are constantly being limited and surveyed by different companies and states with no way to opt out. You can add on to this that for a lot of people, the job prospects in their areas are basically non-existent for what people just 10 years ago would have considered starter positions within a career. It seems like now the only jobs that you'll find available are going to be retail and food service, which for the most part are going to provide you no forward promotion. The economy is getting so bad at the moment, even career fields people thought were recession-proof like computer science are now seeing hiring freezes and mass layoffs. People that do end up getting job offers have to go through 7 interviews, and they're already veterans in their field. I'm trying to think about what's going to happen once the current administration is gone. No matter what you want to happen, the writing's on the wall with what we're in for with some rough years ahead. And I'm laying out now my 4-year plan to try to ensure I'm at least somewhat set up to have options. I don't plan to leave the country, but I do want to have the ability to do so, rather than be in a financial position that I can't do anything. I really recommend, if you aren't currently applying for jobs, to start doing so. Even if you have a job already, apply for jobs that you would prefer over the job that you currently have. Looking for a job with a future right now is probably one of the best things that you can do, because if there's any way that you're able to increase your career potential going forward, now's the time to do it. At whatever job you're doing though, it is best to try to improve as much as possible, but it really depends, because for a lot of jobs, things like stocking, things like that, being a cashier, retail, cook, you can only do so much before the job just becomes a skill cap, and it doesn't matter how much more effort you put in, because at a certain point in something like food service, for instance, it doesn't matter how quickly you get orders out. There will always be other things that you can do that fill up time. So once you get to a point in those kinds of jobs where you're able to just coast, it's best to just do that and focus on self-improvement. One thing I'd recommend is mapping out where you want to be in the next 4 years, because it gives you a clear goal that you're able to then go and move towards. For me, for instance, I want to be able to move either to Vancouver or Paris by the year of 2030. The way that I'm going about doing this is I'm trying to get certified within my career path so that I can make more money and have more options available within my current career. Now, I'm very fortunate in that the career that I got after college was not one I originally expected to get, but it actually does have career potential moving forward that I'm able to work towards. Initially after college, I got 3 degrees. One of them was in psychology, which I wanted to further go through with research experience, but unfortunately none of the research positions that I applied to were able to get anywhere due to the fact that funding was cut for all of the different programs that were available. Now, if I had done research and lab work during my degree, I might have actually had a better chance of getting into a PhD program or actually getting more research experience outside of that and getting a job in the field. But because I didn't, I now have to work towards something else and put the PhD on hold. Because of this, what I decided to do instead was apply to any jobs that I could. I applied to research jobs, but none of those really materialized. I didn't want to go into food service, so I thought I could apply for other things. One of the things that I landed on was pharmacy technician, which I had heard from someone else within one of my undergraduate classes was doing, so I decided to do that as well, and thankfully I was able to be hired. Now, one of the reasons why I say just apply as quickly as you can once you're looking for a job is because it took a few months for me to actually get that position, and the reason why I was actually interviewed and hired was because the boss at the time actually had heard that corporate was looking to hire people, and they didn't want to just be randomly given someone. They actually wanted to interview people themselves, and that's when they actually looked at my application that was there about 2 months beforehand. Now, one thing I learned that was beneficial about the job that I have is that there actually is a career progression system that I can do within my company and outside of the company, so I do have options. There's a lot of jobs that people get, such as barista, where once you reach a certain peak within that job, you can only ever become managerial staff and then corporate, possibly, but most people only get to the area where they're a really good barista, and that's it. Same thing with retail, where you can get really good at stocking shelves, you can get more areas, things like that, but after a certain point, there's a cap, and you can only become something like a managerial person or corporate above then, which then takes things like experience or education, and for a lot of people starting out, they don't have those things. Thankfully, I was able to have a degree due to my education, and that allowed me to get paid a little bit more, but really the amount that I was raised was like 60 cents or so. I can't recall exactly, but it was not a dollar raise. It was a little bit less than that, which made me think about the fact that if I had actually had any debt carried, it would not have been a payoff, especially with the company that I'm at. But really, that's the entire job market. They don't really value just having a degree, but they do value it somewhat, to the point where if you have a bachelor's, they're going to pay you a bit more a lot of the time, because they do want that on their books. They want to have people that are educated working for them, and it does show some competency. One of the things that I found with being a pharmacy technician is that there actually is different certifications and things that you can get, which ensure that you're able to get paid more and gives you more job security. One of the best things that I can recommend is, if you're in any kind of career path, see if there's certifications you can get. I believe with food service, there's like ServSafe, things like that. It can help you get a job if you don't have one, and it can possibly get you paid more. You can always ask your boss and just say, hey, if you get this certification, does that give you more money with the company? A lot of the time, if it's a mom and pop or some kind of individual place, the answer is going to be no for those kinds of things. But if it's going to be some area where it's a chain or something like that, there's a higher chance that they're going to want to give you a raise or hire you or encourage you to get that kind of education, because it looks good for them. Now, the plan that I have when it comes to the year 2030 is, originally I wanted to have a 5-year plan, but once I got the job, that became my sole focus, was ensuring that I kept the job. So I spent the rest of the time effectively studying and doing everything I could so that I was able to ensure that I kept the position. And that included just taking notes on everything. That's one thing that I can recommend if you're in any kind of job where you're going to be constantly learning new things, is just try to figure out what you can do to memorize and not have to repeat things over and over again. One of the greatest people that is actually at my job did mention that eventually you can know everything because it's just going to be repetition, and that's all that it takes is repetition, which is quite true. I found that over time, his words were correct in that the more I did things, the more it became easy to know how to keep doing them and to do them over and over again. Of course, at the same time, it is really difficult when it comes to people that throw curveballs, but when monotonous tasks are done so much, it does become routine, which is quite nice. And once you get to a flow state with a lot of work, it allows you to expand further and to see how much more you can do. So one of the things that I'm planning on doing when it comes to the job I currently have is, because I'm not a certified technician, I'm only licensed, which is what is required within my state. I'm hoping to get the certification once I pass one of the 2 different exams that you can do, and that will get me even more money on top of the fact that I have a bachelor's degree. And then on top of the fact that I'm doing that, the certification will also give me more job security. It gives me more things that I'm able to do, because really, when you're a pharmacy technician and you don't have certifications, you're able to do things like release to patient, which is giving people their medications. You're able to fill once you're licensed, things like that. And licensure is effectively, for the most part, just making sure that you have a background check and that you're trustworthy. So once you get your license, you can then work towards the certification. And my plan is to, at the end of this year, have the certification, or have at least taken the test once for it. I've been studying for it, and my main thing is I need to get over the anxiety of actually scheduling and going and doing the test, with all the studying that I've been doing for months on end now, to ensure that I know the top 200 medications, brand, generic, and what they do. My plan is, once I get that, I want to be able to then have the certification and work in the company that I'm in towards getting vaccinations, where I'm able to actually give those to people. I can do CPR courses, which will give me even more money on top of that. I'll be able to do a lot more floater tech stuff, where I can go to other locations within the chain and be able to do things like that. And then my plan is to actually go back and do online school and try to get into a different career path at the same time, because I want to be able to have options in case something happens within the healthcare field that I'm currently in. This is something I recommend everybody try to do. Try to have a backup plan if your job does end up not going the way that you want it to, or if you get laid off, fired, anything that happens, it's best to at least have another career path that you're trying towards, just in case something happens. Now, I'm hoping to be able to go and do some IT stuff. I'm hoping to go to WGU and ultimately just try to study there, get into IT, and be able to have at least another career option available to me, where if there's an opportunity that arises, I'll be prepared for it and be able to capitalize on that. Something I recommend everybody do basically is to figure out, if you're not going to be living where you are right now, where do you want to live? And if you are going to be living where you are right now, how do you want to live there? With that in mind, I want to be able to have it where if I'm still living here by the time it's 2030, within 4 years, I'm in a position where I have enough money saved up, I'm able to move if I want to. If I'm not living here, then I would probably be living in Vancouver or Paris, one of the 2 areas, and hopefully having enough money saved up by the time that arrives that I'm able to live there comfortably. It isn't a scary move. There's no worries about finance. I'm able to ease into it and coast. Backtracking from that, I'd then recommend people try to figure out, how are you going to get to that position? Thankfully, because I am employed and I do have forward career options within my current career, it makes it a lot easier for me to just be able to go and think, okay, I'm going to go and study, get certifications within my career field, and then use that to pay for further online education in a different career field, and then see which one takes me further. It's nice to have dreams, which is what I have when it comes to IT or possibly being an artist or something like that, but ultimately I also have to face the reality that the job that I currently have is one that I can further myself in as well. One thing I'm thinking is if I want to stay here and study, I'm able to do that, and once I get certifications, I'll be paid more while doing that, but those certifications can also allow me to do things like become a travel technician, where I can go for a fourth of the year into any other state, and they'll pay for my housing as well as giving me even more money than I currently am, due to the fact that I'd have to move from place to place and go and work in different places like hospitals. Now, if you're just starting out, the retail job or the food service job that you're having probably won't give you as much leeway or as much forward progression possibility, but it will still give you money, which is something that you need to be able to do everything else. Really, that's the main thing that you're going to want with your job, is the ability to get money to do anything else. And once you have that, it does open the door quite a lot so that you can further progress and do other things. When it comes to the future, I really do think that that's going to be one of the largest things, is any kind of person with job experience at all, any kind of person that has money, they're paying down debt, that's going to be one of the big things that you really need to focus on, so that by the time 2030 rolls around, you do at least have a plan and you are at least ready to figure out how you're going to get where you want to be. I've already mapped out 3 places that I want to possibly be able to live at that point. I want to know at least 2 different career paths that I can go down to get to that point. And from there, I was able to backtrack and figure out, what am I going to do to get to that point? Right now, it's studying for the certification. Once I get that certification, I'm able to then go and study and do IT while working at the current job. That allows me to apply for both other positions within the career field with the certificate, and then eventually career fields with the diploma. So both of those things are things that I'm hoping to get. And then ultimately from there, I can figure out, okay, how much money will I be able to save based on my income, based on my hours, based on the fact that now that I have the certificates, I'm more valuable to my employer. And thankfully, because I'm more valuable, that means that I can get more money, I can get more hours, I can do all these things. So if you start thinking about what you're wanting to do in the future, you're able to backtrack from there and figure out what is the next step to get to that point, and then go all the way back to what is it that I need to start right now to get to the point where I can be there. Really, the next thing that I have to do is, I've been studying for months now, figuring out the top 200 medications, figuring out all the different things that you need to know for the exam. Now the next step that I really have to do is just map out a date that I go and take it, and then once I'm able to get that certification, I can work further with my employer in figuring out when can I schedule and learn how to give people vaccines. Once you learn how to administer vaccines, you can also go and take a CPR class. They reimburse you for all of those things at a lot of places like where I work, and for a lot of jobs, they do have a lot of stuff that is reimbursable if you tell the company that you got it, and then they'll not only give you more money, they'll pay you for the fact that you went and got that certification. They'll work with you. A lot of places have programs like that because it makes them look better, but thankfully one of the side effects of that is the fact that it benefits you. So once I'm able to get that certification, I'm just going to start taking online courses and just solely focus on doing a lot of technical school. Any kind of stuff I can do so I can get a degree within computer science or IT, possibly both, I'm not sure. It really depends on how the school is going to be set up. I haven't really had any experience with that, but I'm hoping to do that and hopefully eventually either get just a bachelor's or a master's within IT or computer science, and work towards being able to at least apply to jobs within that field with a semblance of knowledge that I'm able to work on those. If you're able to do the same with your time, I really recommend it. If you're still in high school, just focus on your grades really, and also have a job. You know, the last year of high school, that's what I did. I was able to just have a job and work while, maintaining my grades. And that was probably one of the best things that I could do, is get that job, because the instant I was able to get that job, it allowed me to get another job, which carried me for most of my schooling. And then after that, I was able to get an even better position after graduating, where I now am able to have forward momentum within my life. So the sooner you get over those, starting points, the faster you're able to then focus on what you're going to be doing within the next 4 years. Because going back to, the start of this video and what I was talking about, I really think that if you don't start just at least figuring out what you want to do right now, you're not going to, be happy with what things are going to turn out to be, because the economy is going to be messed up, and it's not going to get better. In my opinion, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And really, you need to at least have a job, even if you hate it, because believe me, when I started, I hated my job. Now I tolerate my job, but it's good to have good coworkers too. Thankfully, a lot of the coworkers, basically everybody at my job is great now. So, I really recommend, just getting it over with, getting a job, and trying to save as much money as possible, and working towards how you're going to get into a position. Even if it's something that you don't want to do, you need to take the opportunity, because you have to accept the fact that even if you have a dream, you still have to be awake and figure out how you're going to get to there. So once you're able to do that, once you're able to figure it out, you'll eventually be able to go and do what you want with your life. So I'm going to end the video here. I'm just starting out doing this YouTube thing again. It's been a long time, and I probably am going to script out more videos in the future, but this is also going to be kind of more just like a personal vlog or commentary going forward that I'm going to do. So, I'm leaving this rambling in. I don't really care, because I look back at all of my videos and I think, man, it's nice to at least know that I put something out there. So hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next one. See ya.